This is Paw Print, an animal rescue community, episode 142. I'm Nancy Ree.
And I'm Harold Ree.
Today's guest is Bergen Verdu.
These people literally have nowhere to return to. They are those people that are living out of the hotels for the next 6 months while they're trying to figure out where they can go live again and what they can get to salvage out of their homes. It was incredibly devastating, and for the rest of my life, I will never forget that feeling.
Bergen Verdu is Emergency Fund Project Coordinator for Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch in Napa, California. She flew from San Francisco to Houston to join many folks, including Ryan Darfler, as well as the amazing team at Houston Pets Alive, with the goal of helping with some of the relief work for Hurricane Harvey. And that included bringing some wonderful animals from Houston to the San Francisco Bay Area. We really appreciate Bergen's perspective and stories from her time there. If you'd like to learn more, you can go to jamesonanimalrescueranch.org or go to our show notes at thisispawprint.com/142.
Last Monday, actually, my boss approached me and said, "Hey, would you like to go to Houston to help with the Houston Pets Alive?" And I said, "Sure." She said, "Great, I booked your ticket. You leave at 7 a.m. Wednesday morning." So it was kind of a whirlwind trying to get everything together. I was bringing down a ton of medical supplies for them. So getting everything coordinated with the vet that we use in Napa that helped supply all of the medical supplies that we were bringing down there, and just trying to get my pets situated with a pet sitter, everything. So I flew down to Houston first thing last Wednesday morning, and it was funny because I got home Friday, late Friday night, and I realized the whole time I was there, I didn't eat. I ate very, very little. We were working 12 to 15-hour days in Houston with Houston Pets Alive, and working on getting all of the animals, dogs and cats, intaked and ready to go out to other rescues all over the United States.
And where did you end up sleeping then?
I did end up making it to a hotel, but that was very hard since everybody is in a hotel there. So nowhere was taking reservations. They were all saying same day reservations, and I couldn't chance that. So after 2 hours of searching for a hotel, I was actually finally able to find a hotel that would take a reservation, which was great. And it was a very small hotel, and I spent very little time there.
Okay. All right. How much medicine are you trying to grab? Are you trying to grab enough for 60 animals or 100 animals or 200 animals? I mean, what was your thought?
Honestly, we were anticipating a few hundred animals, and of course, I couldn't bring everything. But what I was anticipating when I was grabbing medications is to pull a variety of medications, because I also, being from California in the Bay Area, and only being in hospitals here, I'm not used to some of the diseases that they see down there. So actually on my plane, I was reading up on a ton of diseases and symptoms that they have there that we do not have in California.
Okay. So can you give us an example of some of the illnesses and diseases that you did witness?
Thankfully, when I was there, they had kind of gotten everything under control, but they were having a really bad outbreak of the dog flu there, and we don't see that really in California. There was a few cases about 18 months ago down in the LA area, but we don't see that in Northern California. And so that was something that I was reading up on, because they also have distemper there, which again, we don't see very many cases in Northern California of that. But the biggest one that I've never seen a case of was the kissing bug, which is a bug that will bite humans or our pets, and it actually sends them into cardiac arrest. So there's really no treatment for it, unfortunately.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, and it's extremely fatal, especially for our pets. They succumb to it much sooner. Humans can show symptoms a few years after they've been bitten. So, and humans, I obviously didn't study that very much, but in animals, it's always fatal.
How did the rain and flooding impact the spread of disease?
Definitely a lot more waterborne illnesses they are seeing down there. So they were seeing more cases of leptospirosis, which is acute kidney and liver failure. They were seeing many cases of Giardia and Coccidia, which are protozoa parasites that live in the intestines and just wreak havoc, kind of just making them feel sick overall. Dogs and cats can both get that, and giving them vomiting, diarrhea, lethargy. So that was, an abundant, I'm pretty sure everybody there had it. So everybody's now going to their vets here in California, getting treated for everything, which is good. But yeah, no, that was something that was past its fecal oral, and if there's feces in the water that was contaminated and now it's going everywhere, it's sitting probably on everybody's lawns there. So that's going to take a while. Texas will definitely be seeing that for quite some time.
Pretty frightening stuff, I would imagine.
Yes, definitely, especially being from California, never hearing of half of these diseases.
As you and the rest of the group, you were trying to figure out, who do you put on the plane, right?
Exactly.
You had this plane. What kind of medical kind of screen did you have, or medical qualifications did you apply?
So really the big thing was making sure that nobody was too sick to transport, basically. Unfortunately, we did have to leave one dog behind because Texas is a huge spot for heartworm disease. It's transferred through mosquitoes, and it's just Texas stays hot all year round. Or humid enough for mosquitoes to breed, and it keeps the life cycle of the heartworm just flourishing there. And so, unfortunately, we did have one young dog who is about 3 that we had to deny coming back to California because she was in kidney failure due to how severe her case of heartworm disease was. And that was really hard because we knew we could have treated her here, but she probably wouldn't have made the flight. So she stayed there and is getting treatment there, and hopefully makes a full recovery. But almost every animal there was heartworm positive that was over the age of 6 months. And so knowing that we are taking them back and going to be treating them, and each animal that is going to be treated, which we pulled close to 70 dogs, and like I said, almost all of them were positive. It costs about $1,000 each dog, and the bigger they are, the more expensive it's going to be, but it's going to be about $1,000 per dog to treat for heartworm disease.
Unbelievable. How prepared, how unprepared were the people or the groups, the facilities trying to contain all this?
Yeah, I think that they did the best that they could with what they had. We set up shop in an abandoned grocery store, and about 4.5 feet of the drywall had been ripped out because the grocery store had flooded. Across the parking lot was an old bank where we had all of our cats set up, and the one running toilet that we were able to use was over there. So, I think that Houston Pets Alive did a fantastic job with what they had. They really utilized every resource that they had. People were flooding in, the medical donations. All of the vet hospitals down there were great about supplying any extra medications or supplies that we needed, which was really, really cool to see that whole entire community. Even though everybody was affected, there was still hundreds of people down there willing to help. So I thought that was fantastic. There's definitely things that could be changed, but we'll know that for next time. Hopefully next time won't be as horrible as this time, and not for many, many years, but we always learn from it and we grow. And so we will know what to do differently next time. But I think it was incredible working with them. They were fantastic. They had everything down to a T.
We're talking to Bergen Verdu with Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch. For people who literally only know Hurricane Harvey through 5-second sound bites and 10-second news reports on the TV, what is something that you'd like to share with folks who may not realize what is actually going on in Houston?
The first thing that I remember feeling was just flying into Houston. You felt so empty and sad, flying over Houston and just looking down into people's yards, and just seeing literally everything that they own and most of the inside of their house in a pile in their front yard, and still seeing neighborhoods flooded. You could tell where there was street signs sticking up and there was water around it. It was altogether an incredibly emotional trip. And what I really want people to understand is the animals that we took back were from, they were for adoption in shelters prior to the hurricane coming. And then they were owner surrenders since then. And people are totally bashing those owners, saying, oh, I would never leave my dog. But when you actually go and you see it firsthand, these people literally have nowhere to return to. They are those people that are living out of the hotels for the next 6 months while they're trying to figure out where they can go live again and what they can get to salvage out of their homes. It was incredibly devastating. And it's something that for the rest of my life, I will never forget that feeling. It was very sad.
Witnessing that, have you ever lived through or witnessed anything worse than that?
No, honestly, no. And I was that person that was watching it on Facebook, and I would turn it off because I felt so horrible. And, I was thinking, what can I do? And then I had this opportunity to go, and I was like, life presents you with these amazing opportunities to be a part of something bigger than yourself. And this was that for me. It was incredible to be a part of. And seeing people come in from all over the United States to help was very humbling.
So, of course, this is really only a matter of days after the event, but how do you think it's changed you?
I think I definitely I came out of it with a different perspective. We go through our day-to-day things and we forget that other people and even animals are living through horrible things. And I have to remember that, when I do get phone calls from my clients, that sometimes this is going to be the worst day of their lives. And now I feel like I will always be much more sympathetic to people going through what, it might not be a natural disaster for them, but it's a disaster for them in their mind. And I will always be more sympathetic to people in these situations, or people losing their homes. And especially with natural disasters now, you see it on social media, and then it doesn't affect you. You go on to see a picture of your friend's puppy or a picture of your friend's baby, and your whole mood changes. But I will always try to donate what I can to there. Or if the opportunity comes again that I get to go help somewhere, I would love to do that. But I will always be more sympathetic and take more time to do everything, to do whatever I can to help, even if it's just sharing a post or, donating $5. I hope people know that whatever they can, everything helps.
Thank you so much for sharing that. If you could, let's rewind the clock just a little bit. Tell us a little bit about growing up and your journey to Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch.
Sure. So as a small child, I was that kid that would be walking home from school and found probably somebody's very loved pet cat in their front yard. And I would think, oh, it doesn't have a home. So I would bring it home. And my mom would always say, Bergen, stop bringing animals home. So I was definitely that kid that was always bringing home quote unquote strays. And I'm sorry to all my old neighbors. They were definitely probably their animals. And there were certainly animals that I brought home more than once. But I grew up in a family that we always had animals. And my parents always, expressed that you need to respect animals and you need to respect their boundaries. And from the time that since I can remember, I always wanted to be a veterinarian. And then as I got older and actually started working with animals, I wasn't quite sure that a vet was where I wanted to go, because my first job was at an animal shelter, a very small animal shelter in the city of Sonoma. And I fell in love with rescue more than I could have ever dreamed of. And it just kind of went from there, and it totally blossomed. And by the time I was 18, I had just graduated high school. I was pulling 30 to 40 dogs at a time from high kill shelters down in Southern California and having them shipped up to Sonoma County and adopting them all out. And I was paying for all of this myself and asking desperately for donations from all my parents' friends. And then I started working at a vet hospital. And that was helpful because I got a discount on all these crazy rescues that I was pulling, and especially the high numbers that I was taking at a time. And I fell in love again with veterinary medicine there. And then for the last 5 years, I was working at a hospital in Napa, at a veterinary hospital in Napa. And it was great because they were so supportive of all the rescue work that I did and were willing to see all the weird cases that I had in my rescue or that my friends had in their rescues that needed some help. And they were great at giving, helping with discounts. And, if it was a really weird case, they were doing it pro bono just to learn from it. So it was just a great hospital to work for. And I learned so much there, and literally everything that I used down in Houston, I learned from my hospital and from, Dr. Hess, who I worked under. He was amazing. And I worked with Jameson through my hospital for the last few years. Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch is was a small, I should say, rescue that started in Napa about 4 years ago. And they have just, multiplied by the hundreds since then. And so it's become this huge organization. And we have what my job position with them is now. I just started with them in August full time, and I left the hospital. My position there is the emergency fund coordinator. So basically we have, on top of all of the rescue work that we do, we have this fantastic fund that if you have a pet that you need surgery on and you can't afford it, and it's the difference between you keeping this pet or you surrendering this pet or you rehoming this pet, you contact us. We have you fill out an application and we help pay for the medical bills, so that our main goal and focus is to keep these pets in their loved homes instead of having owners having to surrender them to the vet hospitals because they just don't have the financial means to pay for something. So it's a fantastic program, and I am so happy to be a part of it.
And obviously, having the medical background that you have there must be some benefit to that, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a huge, that's just one of the hats that I wear for Jameson. That's the biggest one. But I also oversee all of the animals that are in our care. And we also have a program called the Senior Pet Wellness Program, where if any senior human qualifies for Meals on Wheels and they have a pet, we provide vet care. So we go in twice a year, do exams. We provide monthly flea medication. If they have, simple questions, they can call me. And if I feel like it's something more that is not within my reach, then I make an appointment and I take them to the vet for the seniors. So it's a fantastic program. But yes, my years of medical experience are applied every single day in what I do.
So you start Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch full-time in August.
Yes.
And within not even a full month, and
yes.
Suddenly your boss says, "Here's a plane ticket."
Yes, that's exactly what it was. And we had a big event for our volunteers on Sunday. It was kind of talked about. And then Monday she called and said, "Hey, yeah, you're going." And I was like, "Oh my goodness. Okay." So I had to figure out, and we personally, our rescue took in quite a few animals as well. So when I got there, that was actually the first time I had met Ryan was in Texas, and he was great. He introduced himself and he goes, "Okay, let's pick your dogs that your rescue is going to take." Just like that. So that was really hard, going up and down the aisles of hundreds of dogs, trying to figure out who you feel like will be the best adopted in your area. And that's really what I tried to target, is which dogs were, the least reactive when other animals were walking by, or when we went to medicate them, who was the best, all those things. And we pulled 7 dogs, and we have 7 cats, and all of the dogs and the cats are they're fantastic. There wasn't, not to say that the ones that we didn't pick weren't fantastic, but I think we got really lucky.
That's great.
And so do all of their fosters. All of their fosters just adore all of them.
Right. Any particular animals that really struck or that were really special to you personally?
I felt for the senior ones and the ones that were owner surrenders. And not to say that the dogs that were available for adoption in shelters prior weren't owner surrenders, but to have to live through that with their family and then being brought to this weird place that has hundreds of dogs barking inside and watching their families walk away was probably, I couldn't think about how devastated I would be if I had to leave my dog somewhere like that. So, I think that those owners, if they're being honest about, everything that happened to them, I think that it's a very selfless act of them to do this because they know that their dog will have a better life with somebody else. And they're just the owner surrender dogs were really the ones that hit home for me, especially the old senior ones, because that they've been probably with the same family for the last 12 years of their lives. And now they're being shipped to California and being spoiled by Muttville. So, I mean, it couldn't have had a better ending, but the beginning was probably terrifying for them.
Okay. When you look back upon this, let's say it's 20 years from now, I don't know, this could be like, stories around the campfire or you're sharing with your kids and down the road grandkids. What are you going to take away from this?
It was incredibly humbling. Again, I can't express how amazing it was to see so many people come together. And just with everything that's going on in the world, nobody cared what anybody looked like or who they loved or anything like that. It was just such a special thing to be a part of. It's sad that it took a horrific natural disaster to bring everybody together, but it always seems to happen that way. It was very cool that everybody loved one thing. And again, no matter what they looked like or where they came from, that was all put aside and people jumped in this together without knowing what the outcome was going to be. And everybody was just very, very selfless in it. And it was fantastic to see. So I think that that will be something that I will tell my children and my grandchildren 20 years from now.
Any particular stories? Maybe it was a person you worked with. I mean, any sort of unsung heroes that you'd like to recognize?
Everybody was a hero to me there. But, the big thing that I think I want people to know is I was doing a ton of live feeds on my Facebook for everybody to watch. And it was so cool to see how many of my Facebook friends and my family supported this and how many times it was viewed and shared. And it was just very, very, very cool to see everybody supporting this. And my boyfriend was probably the most supportive outside of the people of my job about this. He was just fantastic and telling everybody and trying to follow everything that he could, even though he was at work. He works for CAL FIRE, so he's busy this summer. So it was just great to see that even though he's busy as heck at work, that he was setting aside the time to support me and let me know that I was doing good. But really, I mean, I think the animals are the heroes. They're the ones that had to go through all of this. We also were over at the NRG Stadium going through where Best Friends Animal Society is set up, and that's where all of the animals who are actually stray animals and their owners are looking for them, that's where they are set up. And those animals, those are the ones that I felt for the absolute most, because on their paperwork it said how they were found, that they were tied to a tree or left in a house or left in a kennel, and just walking up and down the 450 dogs that they had there was heartbreaking. Because you do wonder if their owners are going to come looking for them. And to see, you don't know the circumstances. Maybe the owners weren't able to go back to their property to go get them. But those guys are really the ones that fought to survive. They had it took everything that they had in them to survive and to make it to Best Friends, to hopefully be reunited with their owners.
Wow. Emotional stuff. We're talking to Bergen Verdu with Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch. How does it make you feel that, everybody from your boyfriend to maybe just strangers off of Facebook are just cheering you on, just so proud of you?
That was probably the most overwhelming, group of emotions that I had, that there was just so many people. There was, not a lot of negativity. The only negativity was people saying, oh, how can you take those people's animals? But again, they were animals that were for adoption in shelters prior to the hurricane and ones that were surrendered since. So, I think it was the lack of education in that sense. But everybody rallying behind me was just fantastic. It was a great feeling that people cared so much and that they were sharing these videos and getting out there. My sister actually was somewhere and looked over and saw somebody watching my live feed on their phone. And she was like, hey, that's my sister. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And it was a complete stranger. And so I thought that was so cool. And it was just, I never thought that it would. I had like 5,000 views on one of my videos, and I never thought, I was thinking like maybe 100 would be great. But the fact that the message got out there, and the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about was, in those videos was the heartworm and the fact that nothing down there is spayed or neutered. None of the animals are spayed or neutered. Before the hurricane hit, there was roughly 250 to 300,000 stray animals in the Houston area. Now they're estimating after the hurricane and after all these animals' stray times are up in a month, that there's going to be close to 1 million homeless animals, which is that's an incredibly high number for a state, let alone one general city. So, people on Facebook are saying, well, there's animals in California that are dying every day in shelters. And we understand that, and we are not putting that to the side. But I would like to think that if a natural disaster like that happened with that magnitude happened in California, that other states around us would rally to help us with our people and our animals. And, they need help with spay and neuter down there. Had there been a great spay and neuter program down there, we wouldn't have had to deal with the amount of animals that we are seeing now. It could have been very easily prevented, but it's lack of education and lack of funding, really.
Yeah. Well, for the folks who are at the ground level in places like Texas, Louisiana, and all that, I mean, they'll tell you it is overwhelming, and
yes,
and it's something that, but it doesn't mean that there aren't people who are super passionate about it. There are. In
a scary little statistic that I'll just throw out there is 2 sexually mature cats within 7 years can produce 400,000 offspring.
400, because if it just if just all those initial cats have their own babies, right? It just
exactly.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
And that's the thing, is that people think, oh, I'll just have one litter for my children to experience, the miracle of life. It's not worth it. I promise it's not worth it. Take them to a shelter and show them what being a good person and saving a life is, or foster if you can. There's plenty of pregnant animals that come into the shelter if they want to do it, if they really want their children to witness that. There's, that would be probably euthanized had a foster not stepped up. Yeah. Big number, 400,000 within 7 years.
Okay. Well, not only great stories, but great lessons with Bergen Verdu. Bergen, why don't you give a little pitch on Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch? I mean, you already mentioned a little bit, just this relatively young organization, just growing leaps and bounds. What makes Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch special in your mind?
The group of people that are behind it. We have a very small staff, but we have an even larger group of volunteers, and just everybody there is so passionate and really there for the right reasons. And the goal is to keep animals in homes. We will do whatever we can, really whatever we can, from, if somebody's moving and they can't pay a pet deposit or find a pet-friendly rental, we will help them find a pet-friendly rental. We will pay for the pet deposit. If you have a dog that you love and you can't get it fixed, we will pay to have it fixed. There's so many programs within Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch that are fantastic in helping give back to the community. And like I said, everybody there is fantastic and passionate, and really, we all have the same goal, and it's to not have to turn anybody away when they do have to surrender a pet, and there's no other option, that we can take it, no questions asked. So that's our main dream that we're focusing on right now.
Right. I mean, Jameson's proof, if you have a dream, you can make it happen, right?
Absolutely.
What is the best way to find Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch online?
They can go to our website. It's www.jamesonanimalrescueranch.org, or we have very active, incredibly active Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts, and that's under Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch.
Yeah, and Jameson is spelled Jameson.
Correct.
Like the Irish whiskey, if you're a drinker of Irish whiskey.
Yes, there you go.
Okay, super. Really, I just want to say thank you. Your story is so heartfelt. I can only imagine that they chose the right person to send to Houston because.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, because it's just amazing. When I look at Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch's Facebook page, they have these great photos of all you coming back on the airplane from Houston.
Yes.
Everybody, I don't know if anybody's told you this. Everybody looks stressed, a little tired, a little sleep deprived, a little sweaty. Then there's this one person who's wearing the glamorous sunglasses, and I don't know, the lighting is like making Bergen look like you just came from the beach. I mean, has anybody mentioned that you in the photos, you just look so relaxed?
I think I was just finally relieved that they got here because the planning and the logistics, thank goodness Ryan is an engineer, because he was talking about the cubic feet of how many crates. And I was like, oh, you lost me. I was totally off on that. So I was just so happy that everybody that we picked made it back, and it was fantastic. And I'm sure Ryan spoke of this already, but we did have Renee Zellweger working with us, and she flew in a few more dogs that we couldn't fit on the transport, but really, really wanted to bring back to California with us. So she flew them in on Monday morning.
Yeah, commercial,
she
right?
She flew them on her flight with United, and just they flew cargo.
Well, it shows you a little bit about the heart of Renee Zellweger, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, she's a proud Texan.
She totally is. And she's Houston Pets Alive has a sister organization called Austin Pets Alive. And she's worked with them and the Austin City Shelter. And so it really hit home for her. And she wanted to do everything that she could. And she was fantastic.
Well, she's obviously a big star in her own right, but as you said, you and so many other people are stars, and the animals are stars as well. So,
yes, absolutely.
Okay. Finally, just really want to give the floor to you. Anything else that you'd really like to share?
Even if people can't adopt an animal or foster, or you can't donate money, your time just going in and sitting with the animals makes a huge difference. So if you're not able to commit to anything other than that, or just sharing something on Facebook, I really want people to know that everything that they do goes a very, very long way. And to people like me and everybody else, on behalf of Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch, it means the world to us, even when people like a post, because your friends see that. And it, especially since we take a lot of cases that are a little bit more difficult, or hospice cases where we take in a lot of older animals that have cancer and, don't have long to live, that even if you wanted to, help a dog or a cat's bucket list be achieved, like that's fantastic. So everything that you do, even if you can't contribute a ton of money, we see everything, and it means the absolute world to us.
We just want to say thank you to Bergen Verdu of Jameson Animal Rescue Ranch. If you'd like to learn more, go to our show notes at thisispawprint.com/142. If you'd like to listen to more episodes of Paw Print, you can find us on your favorite podcast player, such as Apple Podcasts or SoundCloud. Search for Paw Print Animal Rescue and hit the subscribe button to get the latest episodes immediately. You can also find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Look for This Is Paw Print, all one word. All the music you hear on Paw Print is composed, produced, and performed by the amazing Luke Gartner Brereton, the most talented man in Brisbane. Find him at info.vanillagroovemedia.com. We just want to say thank you for sharing Paw Print with your friends and family. We're now at 142 episodes, and we couldn't have done it without your support, so thanks. And remember, you spread a positive message of love and peace by saving an animal. Have a great day, everyone, and see you next time on Paw Print.
Is a production of EVER Education.
You can't handle the truth.